Hey, everybody. It is a cool and cloudy Friday, but you know what that means? That is right. It is episode 101 of the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff. As always, it is me, Allister Carrington, your trusted realtor, alongside our main man, our mortgage expert, our mortgage brokering guru, Geoff Lee. Geoff, how are you on this fine, cloudy, and cool Friday morning?
Well, I think they call this the first days of summer.
That's what I hear.
The first day is not so nice, but you know what? What they say, rich man problems.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I got the kids are all, or the kids, I guess the kids are all out of school now. I mean, mine are. I've got my daughter, she's already ran off with her friend over to her boyfriend's house. That's an awful feeling, Geoff. I got to tell you. I don't like it. I don't.
Well, just you saying it makes me cringe. My daughter has run off with her friend to her boyfriend's. I'm like, oof.
Yeah, it's awful, man. Seriously. And what's funny is it's like, so my daughter and her boyfriend are fixing up my daughter's best friend with his best friend. And so it's really hard to take all of this in. And it's so funny because we've got my wife who's the opposite. She thinks this is all cute and great and fun. Yet we have a son that's turned 16 and is going to go for his driver's license on July 8th. And she wants no part of that. She thinks it's ridiculous and crazy and he should not have his license. Yet our daughter of 14 can be running off to her boyfriend's place. It's really, it's an awful thing to take. Anyways.
Yeah. I won't even say my 2 cents because you'll be running over there with a shotgun and
it's true. It's for another counseling podcast session, Geoff. Another counseling podcast session.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
So
switch gears. Let's switch mindsets.
Yeah. Your world's good. Just making sure, checking in.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, life is a roller coaster ride. So a little bit of roly polies this week, but you know what? As they say, it is what it is. As I tell my kids, is you take the biggest problem first. You chip away at it, then you go on to the next. It's like debt. Take care of your highest interest debt first, and then once that's dealt with, go on to the next. Eventually you'll get to the top of the mountain, right? So
there you go. How do you eat an elephant, Geoff? One bite at a time. That's it. All right, man. Well, let's kick it. And let's kick it off, as always, with podcast hottest segment, and that is...
Did you know?
That's right, Geoff. Did you know? All right, Geoff. Did you know that the real estate media is depressing and soul crushing? No wonder people aren't buying.
Okay, one more time, just because I'm having a little bit of a tough time hearing you, but I want to say it one more time.
I think I heard that right. I said, all right, Geoff, did you know that the real estate media is depressing and soul crushing? No wonder people aren't buying.
Yes.
So, that's not really my did you know, but that's my lead in as to how I got here. Because Geoff, man, just, reading up and doing my investigations into the markets and how things are going and listening to what the media is saying about everything out there. It is awful, buddy. It is awful. Like, these are the headlines, some of the headlines that I've seen. Severe correction in Vancouver. Severe corrections in Vancouver condo prices may persist. So the talk about that is that condos are supposed to lose another 8.8% by the end of this year. And then possibly in 2027, we might see that start to rebound. Right? The Carney-Ebby housing deal has been met, of course, with mixed reactions for people that haven't heard. A lot of people, which I'm super upset about, going back to my previous Conservative Party, and this is why I am a champion against Pierre Poilievre, talking about how this is a bailout for investors and this, that, and the other. And listen, guys, call it what you want, but this is something that's needed in order to get our industry moving. The real estate accounts for a third of BC's GDP. It's something that has to get done. So again, if we would just stop with the outrage madness, right, we would get things done in this. We would get a lot more things done in this world. Geoff, I was even going to talk about the mortgage broker, the unlicensed mortgage broker that did that whole how much money? I think it was like $51 million he stole or something like that, and that just happened. He was just explaining how he did that whole deal to the boards, and now you got all your mortgage rules coming in October in order to fix the loopholes that he was jumping through. So that's all the stuff. Go ahead, Geoff. You were going to say something.
I actually, who was the name of that broker?
Oh, you're going to make me pull that up. Give me 2 seconds. Financial authority issue.
Because I know there was and again, I don't even want to say the name because it might be the wrong name, but
yeah,
I know that there was this was years ago that this broker had a MIC or was positioned something like a MIC, and just embezzled millions of dollars out of people, right?
He was suspended, Geoff. He was a suspended broker. This guy. Okay. I don't have it in front of me anymore, Geoff. I closed it down. But yeah, he was a suspended broker that, $511 million in mortgages he took out illegally. Yeah.
He took out, like, defrauded or put in his pocket?
He faked it all. He faked it all, and he was sitting in front of a public inquiry yesterday, and he admitted out loud about how he did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be in. Send me that over. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'll send that
thinking
over.
We're on the same page, but this one might be a whole new different one.
Yeah, it was crazy, and so that's why just was all of the rules that you guys have to follow now in October basically derived from that nonsense. So I was trying to find, anyways, going back to the did you know, I was trying to find something exciting and happy to talk about. So I found something that's super, super interesting. So Did you know, Geoff, that if you owned a condo out east in Ontario, the neighbors running the building would be required to get trained. But here in British Columbia, that same multi-million-dollar job comes with no training required at all. And there's a real push to change that. So, with that being said, about 1.5 million people in the province of BC live in a strata. That's roughly 1 in 3 of us spread across some 34,000 strata corporations. And every one of these buildings is run by a strata council, which is a small group of your neighbors, all volunteers who raise their hands to serve. Now, think about what we're actually asking these volunteers to do. And one expert put it perfectly. A strata council is almost like a 4th level of government. They tax the owners through your fees. They enforce the rules. They manage the building's money, its insurance, its legal risk, and a repair plan that can run into millions. So that's not supposed to be a hobby. That's running a small business, except the people doing it might be a retired teacher, a young first-time owner, and a guy from the 3rd floor who just wanted to help. And here in BC, not one of them is required to have any training at all. Now, I know everybody's known that part. If you've lived in a strata, you've already probably served on one of these councils yourself. So here's the part that might actually surprise you. Across the country in Ontario, they do it differently. New condo directors have to complete about 7 hours of free online training within their first 6 months. Same kind of job, same kind of buildings, but one province now is training its volunteers and one doesn't. So why don't we, is the question that most people have been asking. Well, earlier this year, the Realtor Association called for a proper review of our strata law and floated exactly that question, or exactly that not question. What's the word I'm looking for? That sort of training. Sorry. So sorry. Go back to where we're at. The Realtor Association. They floated that same question: is why don't our people face the same type of requirements that they do in Ontario? And so now we're looking at 3 hours of a simple course of how to run a proper annual meeting, how to read the financials, how to handle insurance, how to budget for the big repairs before they become surprise bills. So now it's being met, though, again, with some pushback by the industry professionals within. Is they're trying to say now, by making training mandatory to be on Strata Council, will that dissuade people from joining a Strata Council? So that's what I wanted to put it to you, Geoff, is what do you think about the thought of introducing mandatory training to people that are running stratas? And do you think that by implementing that mandatory training, it's going to scare people away from joining a strata?
I actually like the idea of training. And to your point, most of the people that are on Strata, they're either Karens or what do they call the male Karen?
Brad, I think, or what is it, Brad?
I don't even know, but my experience with Stratas is these are the type of people you get on there. You get people that have, it's not that that's all they have to do, right? So they go in, they go above, they go beyond, they push their personal agenda, they're bullies, and basically just to be quite honest, create problems, right?
Yes.
Then you get other people that are in there that are retired professionals or retirees of some sort, and they just want to help, right?
Yeah.
And they just want things to get better, and they could be former business owners, people that really have an agenda for the strata and what's best for the strata versus themselves or even their neighbors sometimes, right? Or their personal agenda. And then you get the first time or second time home buyers that just want to go in and make a difference, right? They want to get involved. They want to know. So if you take a look at all three of those groups, and I might have missed a category there, I think 2 out of the 3 would actually encourage the education, would encourage that additional responsibility. Because again, it is a responsibility. You are managing and making decisions that impact your contingency reserves. You're making decisions and have to be bringing up decisions that are financially based. And maybe you get rid, and maybe those people that want to pursue their agenda, like, and they still may be okay with the education, but it might get rid of what we call the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't be objective to that at all.
No, and I actually think it's a great idea. I do see the fact that it would scare some people away, but to your point, I think it just scares away the people that wouldn't do a good job as it is, because 7 hours of training is nothing. And if you think about it, these people are also setting the financials for your building, right? So they're setting what your contingency fund is, what you pay into your strata fees, and deciding whether or not there are going to be repairs to like the house, or sorry, if there's going to be money able to fund the repairs. And most people don't even know what it takes to, or what a proper strata fee payment should look like. So I was doing some digging when it came to that. And if you look at Ontario, they're normally about 75 to 85 cents per square foot. That's about how much you can generally calculate their strata at, is if it's running a good strata. They would be charging normally 75 to 85 cents per square foot. So just for some math's sake, if you had a 700 square foot apartment at 85 cents per square foot, you're looking at about $595 as your strata fee. Whereas here in BC, there's not really that set number, and ours are actually running at around 30 cents to 50 cents per square foot.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy.
my immediate response and my immediate reaction is like $560 for a condo fee. Yikes, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, is that's a healthy strata. That doesn't necessarily mean there's issues in there. That's
No.
just a healthy strata.
That's a healthy strata. So so Ontario, because we talked about it before, they base their strata payments on future, on what that cost is going to be in the future.
Yeah.
Whereas British Columbia doesn't.
Yeah, British Columbia, and again, I'm not going to throw all BC stratas under the same sandbox, but again, it seems like a lot of the strata that I hear of is they're dealing with the issues once the problem has passed.
Right.
And now that they need to deal with it, and now all of a sudden they're getting these crazy levies for $10,000, $40,000, and not only that, they have to come up with it in a very short period of time.
Right.
So, and again, because of that, and again, there's always things that underline that. So maybe someone can't get that special levy for that assessment, right? Sometimes now you gotta sell, or there's so much levies that are so many assessments that are coming that you're aware of, and now you have to sell, and nobody's gonna buy that if they read the strata
docs,
right?
Yeah.
Whereas in Ontario, and again, I'm not too familiar with Ontario strata, but if they're planning, pretty much budgeting for I'm not going to say worst case scenario, but future
repair costs.
Yeah. That's the way to do it, because again, I'd rather spend an extra $1,000 or $1,500 on my condo fees a year over a period of time than come up with, again, what was that study that just says an average homeowner or average homeowner in a stratified building is going to have to come up with $8,000 this year to deal with some type of assessment within their complex. I rather just spend an extra $100 a month, $200 a month on my strata, so I don't have to come up with $8,000 at one time, right?
Without question, without question. So I think there's a lot. that we here in BC can take from Ontario, in terms of running our strata buildings, because at the end of the day, all that's going to do is create healthier buildings. Your investment looks and keeps a whole lot better. The value of your investment is going to consistently be there, right? It just makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, but it also comes down to, my mentality with debt management is even with my property taxes, I don't want to pay $6,000 at the end of the year. Where am I going to come up with that money? Right.
Exactly.
So this is why I pay it each and every month, because at the end of the year, I'm not even missing it. I don't even have to worry about it. It's already done.
Yeah.
And I actually learned that from my mother. And my mother is not a high income earner. She is a blue collar worker, blood in, blood out kind of idea.
Yeah.
And she actually prepays her strata fees 1 year in advance.
Good for her.
Right? So, it's just that it's all about how you manage debt. It's all about that. And again, a $45,000 special assessment, no thank you, right?
Nope.
$10,000 special assessment that I need to come up with in a short period of time, no thank you, because most people don't have the ability to do that.
Well, that's exactly it, right? So that's it. That's the did you know, and now you do.
Yeah, I like that one. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm a big believer is that, hey, if something is working for somebody else, just basically copy what they're doing, because it's the biggest form of flattery. Yes, right? 100%. We don't have to reinvent this. If we feel, or if not we, but if there's studies that show there's special assessments that the average strata owner is going to be about $8,000 a year, again, strata companies game plan for that. Increase the strata, like it's not going to make it uncomfortable for people to increase their strata, short increments at a time, right? It will be very uncomfortable for people when you come to them with a big, hey, we need this amount of money in this amount of time, or we're going to lien your property type of idea.
No, that's exactly it. And then when you're a buyer and you're faced in trying to sell in a building where you'll have numerous amounts of you trying to sell now because of this special levy that's come about, and now buyers are be asking their buying agents, why is everybody moving out of this building? And then of course the buyer agents are going, let me see why there's 8 listings in said building, right? Like
I know of one situation right now, a fairly new building built by a very reputable developer. I would say that this building is less than 7 years old, going through huge amount of special assessments, and that the homeowners are actually in a legal situation with the developer because it's not being covered under warranty. And there's a huge amount of people trying to get out of this gorgeous building. If you're to walk by it, you'd be like, wow, like this is fantastic. But again, to your point, they're getting out because they do not want to deal with these assessments. And this is a little bit different because it's more of a building issue than it was a strata issue. But to your point, the more education that you have when you're taking on a role of responsibility, it's just a win-win for everybody.
Exactly. And just another shout out on why it's so important to read the strata documents.
Yeah, again, I've been preaching that probably for the last 3 months. And maybe it's just because there's so much empty condos here in the greater Vancouver area. I think it was like over 4,800.
Yeah.
And there's just so much attention to condos right now. But again, folks, if you are buying a stratified unit, make sure you read your condo docs, right? Make sure that your realtor gives their opinion of those condo docs, right?
Yeah.
And if your realtor is not willing to give you their opinion because their governing bodies don't allow them to do so, or you don't understand this foreign strata document language, and most of you will not, again, get a third party to give you that opinion. It might cost you $300, $500, whatever that is. But like a home inspection, you want to know what you are buying. And again, be cautious of running your strata documents also through ChatGPT, because again, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, or there's so many of them now, again, they may not have that ability at this point to basically read those confidently and give you proper information.
They only scan, guys. They only scan. They don't deep dive.
Yeah. Unless you prompt them.
Right, unless you prompt them. But even then you have to know the prompts and all that sort of stuff. So that's why you leave it to the professionals. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think there will be a time, honestly, I think there will be a time, and I think that time is coming sooner than later, that you can use AI to run strata documents through.
Yeah, for sure.
There's probably going to be someone that's going to develop that, that's going to develop that. And there will be a time, just like legal documents, right? There's legal AI platforms that are out there. So it's a matter of time. But again, I'm from the old school. I think I'm going to be that person that still goes to the bank and paying their bills at the teller. Right?
No, I agree. 100%. That's where I'm going to be on that side of the table, right? For this one.
Yeah, and then my kids that are the 20 something, they'll be running everything through AI, right?
Exactly.
And be making, just like I jokingly tease when I'm the 12th person in that bank lineup when they have 2 tellers, and you got a cute little lady there paying her bills, her 6 bills, and counting the change from her coin purse, and I'm like, oh,
come on.
But that will be me. So you know what? Kindness.
There
Kindness
you go.
and patience.
There you go. All right, man. That's all I got. What do you got for us today?
Well, I'm going to switch the gear here a little bit. And I always say the best wisdom you get is the wisdom, is the things that you do, right?
Right?
And one of the things that we do is we do hundreds of mortgage applications each and every year.
Yes.
And what I wanted to kind of do a little bit today was what we have learned, or what I have learned in reviewing these applications and doing them, as far as to kind of give you those little golden nuggets as far as what lenders are looking for, what underwriters are looking for, and the consistency of what an application needs to be. Because again, you don't know unless you do. And like I jokingly say, or not jokingly say, factually speaking, well, jokingly saying, I'm saying there's 18,000 mortgage brokers here in Canada. There's probably 18,000 plus bank specialists or mobile specialists here in Canada. And if you don't have the experience of underwriting applications, again, they may not be the best people to be representing you in the biggest financial decision of your life, right? So, just like realtors, I've often said this, and I'm saying this more and more. Greater Vancouver area. Correct me if I'm wrong, Allister. My numbers may be off. 25,000 realtors in the Greater Vancouver area. Let's throw the Fraser Valley in there maybe as well. The average sale of these average realtors is one for the entire year.
Yep.
Right? Is that who you want to be representing you when you're going out to buy or sell? Same thing with a mortgage broker or a lending partner. They say when you start, like if you're not doing at least 12 mortgages a year, well, and I think that's light. Like we do hundreds a year, but if you don't do more than 12 a year, you are not serving your clients well. You're not representing them well. You may be getting them into mortgage products that they don't need to be in, because again, strictly, like, just plainly speaking, they do not have the experience.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what I've learned in my 15 years plus years of mortgage brokering. We have done thousands and thousands of applications. We've done millions and millions of dollars of lending. And I just want to take our time here today to let you know what I've learned in my years. And here we go. Your mortgage application is a personal story on how you have carried your debt, on how you have really walked through your life in regards to income that you are making. It tells lenders on your ability in saving in the years that you've been on the employment ground, be it working for somebody or yourself. And again, how you've managed debt in your time. And understand that we have files that go really, really smooth, applications that go really, really smooth, but there's others that have preventable challenges. So what I want to say is, how can we give you 1 to 2 pieces of gold here that you can start doing now to basically be proactive, so when that time comes, when you're doing a mortgage application, you can deal with what needs to be dealt with now, just like Strata, versus then when you're in that moment and all of a sudden trying to figure it out and creating yourself, a big ball of stress. Right?
Yeah.
So the first thing, folks, is income matters, but job stability is as equally as important. Right? Statistically speaking, I don't know if this is still a stat. You'll have to Google fact it. The average length of an employment is about 3 years, right? And then you're on to a different job.
Crazy.
So stability matters, right? I've worked on files that people have transitioned into 6 different jobs in a matter of 12 months. right?
Whoa.
And the question on that would be why? Like a lender is going to ask why. Like, was there any gaps in that employment? Like, what was the reason why there is so much transition in such a short period of time? What is that indicating to a lender as far as your ability to keep employment and stay there? Because again, that stability matters, because that income that you're earning is going to be paying the debt, your mortgage that the lender is going to be lending, right? How reliable is that income? There's a reason why lenders will say if you're a 100% commission employee, or if you have a base salary, and usually the base salary is low and the commissions are high, there's a reason why lenders are saying, hey, we're not going to recognize any of that commission income unless you've been with the same employer for a period of 2 years, right? So important that there's reliable income. And a lot of people who are on commission income, they're just chasing the dollar. So again, if this one employer isn't given the opportunity, or you're not getting the income that you feel that you're making, and now you're going into this next situation, and now you're going to this next situation, keep in mind, if you have any commission component to your income, it's 2 years with that same employer for that income to be recognized as borrowing power, right? So lenders, like all of us, we love predictability, right? Like let's be honest, predictability is basically a foundation of comfort.
You betcha.
Hey, this is again for me why I've been in only 2 jobs my whole life. One from the age of 16 to the 42, and one from 42 to 56, yeah. Right? Or now I don't even know how old I am, but I'm old. So 2 jobs. For me, I love predictability, yeah. Right? To me, I love the stability. And again, this is why I'm so good at what we do, is that this stability matters. Income matters, but stability matters as well. So if you are the person that is bouncing all over the place, and that, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing to do, but there has to be a reason for the transition of employment, right? And again, keeping in mind, lenders will also understand that, hey, if the average employment is 3 years, if you're transitioning every 3 years, and again, understand as well, lenders only want 3 years of employment. So again, if that is you, really there's only going to be 2 employers that are based on, statistically speaking, when we're doing a mortgage application, right? But again, with this one particular file we worked on, 6 different jobs within a period of 12 months. It's like, okay, the lender is going to look at that and ask more questions, right? Credit scores. Here's another big thing. We've said that, we've preached it, we've drilled it into everybody's head. You need a credit score of a minimum of 680. Yeah. Anything lower than 680 could create you some speed bumps. But here's the thing, folks, your credit score isn't everything. Right. It comes down to your payment history. It comes down to how much money do you owe on the credit cards or the line of credits that you have, or what is your overall debt situation. It comes down to how much money is owing on something. Like, again, if you owe $5,000 on a credit card that has a limit of $7,000, when we put that into the application, that $5,000 payment is $150. It's calculated at $150, which affects your borrowing power, right? Yeah. It's the length of your credit history. We've talked about that 2-2-2 rule. Yeah. Lenders want to see a minimum of two credit cards, 2 forms of debt. Yeah. They want to see that you've had those same cards for a period of 2 years. They want to see that you basically have been making payments on time every time for a period of 2 years. That 2-2-2 rule, right? Recent credit inquiries, we talk about this often, is that, try to prevent your credit getting pulled multiple times, because again, that's an indicator to lenders that, okay, why are there so many credit pulls here? And typically that happens when that person is not hearing what they like, and now they're getting another opinion. Now they're getting another opinion, right? So credit scores aren't everything. I just worked on a file yesterday where the credit score was 740. So I'm thinking, well, this is fantastic. Not any issues here. But when you reviewed the credit, every credit trade line that they had was actually closed, right? So they had no current payment history. They actually had no active credit. So they had zero utilization. They had zero balances, right? There really wasn't any recent credit inquiries, but his credit score was 740. But when you take a look at it, and this is where I go back to my point here, the credit scores aren't everything because there was no payment history. It was all past, right? There's no current. There's no credit utilization current because again, right, what's your ability to manage your debt, right? There's no outstanding balances because there's no credit. There's no length of credit. And again, people will say, and this is what this gentleman says, well, look at my past. Like it shows you that I was great at everything. Yes, you were, but the lender also wants to see current.
Current. Yeah.
Right? So it's not what you've done. It's also currently as far as where you're at, where that history becomes important, right? If you just stop and close everything, your history no longer matters, right? In a lender's eyes, it's what you got going on today, which reflects on what you got going on today, which reflects on your past history, right? So again, folks, a lot of times people will just say, hey, you know what? Cash is king, credit is bad. And you might not be going through anything hardship with credit, but your mind shift may have changed because you've listened to a pod or a TED talk or whatever you might have listened to, and all of a sudden said, I'm just not going to use credit and I'm going to live in cash and close down everything. But again, when you start to go and get financing, your credit is as equally as important as your income when it comes down into borrowing money.
Yeah. That other part of the 2-2-2 rule that you taught me is that you have a credit limit of $2,000.
Exactly, right. And again, it reminds me of some people that they do these, I'm going to say crazy things, but maybe not so crazy because hindsight is 2020. But in the moment, it seems really crazy. I'm going to sell my house and what I'm going to start to rent, and I'm going to put all my proceeds in crypto.
Oh, yeah.
I actually a friend of mine's friend actually did that. And in the time, I'm like, are you like, that's crazy, right? Yeah. Why would you do that? But again, let's talk to that person in 5 or 10 years. Let's see if it's crazy. But
that's a definition of eggs in one basket, though.
To me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, it's not that they had to do it. It's not that they were in distress. There was no reason to, I'm going to air quote, the madness, right, or the logic behind that. That's what they just felt what they needed to do. Right. And they believed in it. They did their research in it. They felt comfortable in it. They did their due diligence. They did all the right things to make an educated decision. Right.
Yeah.
Same thing when it comes down to credit. We all there's financial gurus that their whole mentality is cash, right? It's just cash. Don't live in credit. But again, when it comes back to the financing, if you don't have the credit, you're not going to get the financing with a bank or a credit union.
Not going to get if you don't have the credit, you're not going to get the cash.
Right. So that goes with bad credit and then making $1 million in a lender's eyes. You made a zero. That could be even with no credit in $1 million. Okay, well, explain the story to me, right? If the story is good and there's alternate credit, there's a case to be made. But again, in all the years that we've been doing this, the one thing that I continually preach is the 2-2-2 rule when it comes to credit. And credit is as equally as important as your income, right? Here's the other thing. The best applications are boring, right? And this is what we've talked about. There's stable employment. Yeah. There's not a lot of movement. There's consistent savings. Their debts are great. They're all within 30% of their limits and their credit. And as a result, their credit scores are fantastic. Their debts are fantastic. And they're just smooth, right? Back in the day, when I started this years ago, we used to, all our business came from online leads. And online leads, again, there's really no relationship there. There's really no connection there. There's really no boundaries as far as areas that you're focusing on. They're coming from everywhere, from every walks of life. And this is really which I'm so happy this is how we learned. But I'm not going to say every one of those leads, but I'm going to say a large majority of those leads had employment issues, had saving issues, had credit issues. There is always a speed bump within it that needed to be figured out. And it was the best way to learn, because as we transitioned further into our careers, or my career, and the files just became more boring.
The ones that your 8-year-old could do.
Yeah, I jokingly say, if you got a great job, you got a strong down payment, and your credit is good with no debts.
Yeah.
I usually say your 12-year-old kid can do that mortgage, but I'm going to say your 6-year-old kid can do that mortgage. They are that easy. But back in the day, when every other file you were working on had employment issues, had savings issues, had credit issues, it made you learn on how to deal with the ugly stuff. It made you learn that there are actually financing solutions for that. So if that's you, I'm not discouraging you to say, hey, there's no way I'm going to be able to get financing. There is a way. There's always a way if you have 20% down. But again, the way that we learned was the hard way. We got dirty. We just were in the trenches. And as we became more established in my career, our files just became boring. I was looking for something to be wrong with them, just because that's what we were used to, right? So the blessing is we're super duper good at the mortgages your 6-year-old kid can do, but we're even better at the ugly stuff, right?
Yeah.
So again, which I go back to all my years of doing applications. If you are working with a broker or a banker that doesn't have the experience of files, again, they may be doing you a disservice. And if you are a AAA rock star, your broker really isn't that good, because again, your 6-year-old kid can do that mortgage. They're really that easy, right? Small debts can make a big difference. This is also a big one. Quite often when we're doing applications, we'll see like loans, like a vehicle loan, for example, that they have $3,000 owing, right? But their payment might be $800, which is the same payment that they started when that loan was $40,000, right? Keeping in mind is that every $600 payment you have takes away $100,000, right? Another thing that we see and we hear is, well, I have a student loan, but I have a 0% interest on it, so I don't have to make payments until 3 years down the road. Well, again, that's great for you, but a lender doesn't look at it that way. The lender will still take that amount owing and debt service it accordingly, right? We talked about if you owe money on your credit cards or lines of credit. I've seen files where people have the savings, but they have large credit card debt, or they have large lines of credit debt. And it really just is a mind shift as far as like, hey, like, do you want to be paying 12 to 19% on this?
Right.
Or do you want to have your money sitting in your bank? And their reason is, well, I don't want to take that money out and pay my debts, because in their mind, they're psychologically thinking now they're broke. Right? They like to see that money in their bank account.
It's not making you anything in your checking account. Sorry.
So again, those small debts can make a big difference when it comes down to what you're going to be approved for.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're having those discussions, and especially when it comes down to down payment, because many of us believe the bigger the down payment, the more money I'm going to be able to borrow, right? Even though that you don't need as much of a down payment.
Yeah.
So a lot of times our conversation will go, hey, Allister, like you got a great down payment here, but you also have some debts that need to be taken care of. And even though that you may qualify, or maybe you're not qualifying, why don't you take some of this down payment, get rid of some of these debts or all of these debts, and you're just going to be putting yourself in that much better of a situation, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we go to, is that renewals are huge. I think there's 1.3 million mortgages that are coming up for renewal in 2026. And what we see all the time is that, and again, we've talked about the loyalty tax. Remember, we talked about that, Allister, is that 7 out of 10 people just simply renew with their lender.
Yeah.
They don't shop that rate around.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, folks. If you're part of that 7 out of 10 people that are just simply renewing, and your banker or your lender that's just renewing it is just getting you to sign the paper, but not asking you about what your other debts are looking like, you're losing a huge opportunity of saving liquid cash in your pocket each and every month. I just worked on a file, Allister, and the conversation, my mortgage is renewing here at the end of July. This is the rate that my bank has given me. What rate can you do? So again, we ask the questions and we get into the question of consumer debt. Well, tell me about your consumer debt. This lady had about $38,000 of line of credit and credit card debt, right? And I said, well, look, why don't we restructure the debt? And I had to share a story of a previous file that we worked on where we restructured the debt. The renewal rate wasn't, in fact, it was higher because now we had a refinance versus a renewal.
Yeah.
And the story I shared with her is that we have the rate's not going to be better than what you're renewing into. And in fact, it's going to be higher, but we're going to restructure your debt. And in this particular family, we saved them $800 of liquid cash if they were to simply renew into that bank's rate and keep their consumer debt.
Yeah.
By restructuring the debt at a higher rate and resetting the amortization, we saved this family $800. Right.
Great.
So let us maybe let's do your file. Let's take a look at this and let's see how we can restructure this $38,000 of consumer debt.
Yeah.
Do you know how much we saved this lady?
How much?
$2,100 a month.
A month?
A month.
Holy smokes, man.
Right. So here's the thing. What is more important for your renewal if you have consumer debt? Is it the lowest rate for your renewal and keeping that consumer debt? Or maybe it's taking a look at a bigger picture and saying, let's look at your consumer debt. Let's take a look at the overall cost of borrowing of it. And let's see how much you're going to save in 2 scenarios: getting that best rate, keeping your debts, or restructuring everything. Let's see how much money you're going to be saving. And in this lady's case, $2,100 a month.
That is amazing.
Right?
The stuff that she can do with that 2,100 is infinite. And please don't go spend it.
Yeah. Well, and a common thing that
don't go turn this into new toys and stuff like that is what I'm saying.
And the common thing that we have to do sometimes, Allister, is we reset the amortization, right?
Sure.
We reset it to 25 years, 30 years, whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
And the conversations we have then is like, well, I don't want to be paying my mortgage off for the next 25 or 30 years, or I don't want all my payments to go towards the interest and very little towards the principal. And what I say is like, look, you're just saving yourself $2,100. Utilize the prepayment privilege,
Right.
Throw it back into your mortgage. It will go directly onto the principal. And now your 30-year amortization is now 18 years, but now you're controlling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, this is where we see a lot of people making mistakes is when they're renewing, they're not thinking about restructuring their consumer debt, paying at times a higher mortgage, sometimes not as far as a rate goes, but at times a higher rate, resetting everything, and then having a good strategy moving forward in regards to prepayment and taking that extra cash and putting it either onto your mortgage and driving down that principal, or reinvesting that cash into an appreciating asset. And to your point, not on depreciating assets.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the last thing, and I want to end it here, is things that we often see is just because you qualify for the mortgage doesn't necessarily mean you can afford the mortgage. And yes, people will say, well, how can I qualify? My debt servicing is in place. Everything works. The numbers work. It's true. It works. But it doesn't necessarily mean you can afford it. Do you have 3 to 6 months of savings of your income in a bank account? Well, no. Okay, well, what happens if things completely go sideways? What happens if we have another world event like COVID? And now all of a sudden, you don't have the ability to work remote, right? You don't want to take the shot. Now you are in a position of a job loss or a job gap where you now have to leave.
Yeah.
Yes, you qualified for at the time, but can you afford it in the hard times if those were to present itself?
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that we've seen, especially we've seen that really, really predominantly in COVID, where people were suffering job losses and they just couldn't afford it anymore. Right. So again, it comes back to what do you have in your bank account after you do this? Do you have 3 to 6 months of savings of your income?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, really ask the question, can you afford it? Yes, you qualify for it, but what happens if the tough times hit? And God forbid, hopefully they don't, but they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, just to kind of cap it, the biggest lessons that I've learned doing thousands of mortgages, millions of dollars of lending, almost to $1 billion of lending, is that your stable income is important. Your credit is important in how you handle it and how you move forward with it, how you save and spend money, right? And basically the opportunity of resetting things such as consumer debts, if you at a time of renewal, do not be 70% of us will just simply renew. They won't take a look at the restructure of it. And again, I believe everybody carries consumer debt. I don't care who you are. The majority of us do, including myself.
Yeah.
Right. But if you can restructure that debt and put that liquid cash back into your pocket and then reassign that cash into an appreciating asset, whatever that may look like, you're missing a golden opportunity to do that. Again, one family last week, $800. What would you do with $800 a month of cash you would normally be spending, Allister?
Exactly. There's so much. Yeah, it's crazy.
This other lady of ours, $2,100.
That blows me away. Yeah.
Right? So what would $2,100 mean to your family of cash you would be spending anyways?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, folks, that's a big one.
That's huge.
So
huge.
That's all we got.
That's amazing, man. That's awesome. Oh, and just so we can finish up with all the ends tied up, Jay Chowdhury. Jay Chowdhury was the name of the unregistered mortgage broker that performed $511 million of illegally arranged mortgages.
Unlicensed.
What's that?
Unlicensed.
Unlicensed. Yeah, he had been suspended.
He continued to do mortgages.
And he continued to do mortgages. Yep. He used a clandestine network of licensed real estate agents and registered mortgage brokers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was,
he referred everything out.
Yeah. Amazing. And then so so they've just closed up that loophole that allowed him to do it. I'll get tied up in October. Unbelievable.
Well, and here's the thing: if you're doing $500 million of mortgage business,
yeah,
you are a top 5% volume producer.
That's crazy.
Right? Which is crazy because again, Jay, licensed, sounds like he had a great business.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like he was defrauding anybody. It just sounds like he was practicing without being licensed.
No. He was defrauded. So what he was doing was he was taking out fake mortgages, like he was guaranteeing people get approved.
Oh.
So he was making up fake files and getting
Oh.
them getting them approved. You know, the one of those
Oh.
guys that you give me $10,000 and
Right. Okay.
I gotcha.
Yes, that's different. Well, that's probably why he was doing, that's probably why he was doing so much business, because feathers of a bird stick together kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Unbelievable though. $511 million that was able to seep through. But the same thing we did. We had there was a Lighthouse Realty, the owner of Lighthouse Realty and Jovi Realty. And then he had two other smaller boutique brokerages. They got shut down a few months ago because of misappropriation of deposits and stuff like that. So that was a big thing that had to go out, that if you had an existing deposit with one of those brokerages, it was a whole thing to try to get your money out and all that sort of stuff. So again, this just goes back to make sure you know who you're dealing with when you're looking to enter the purchase of the biggest thing the biggest set of money that you will spend in your lifetime.
yeah.
Amazing, people. Well, thank you so much for spending the time listening to us. We know this one ran long, but this one was great. This one was a lot of information. It's going to be nice to see that we're potentially putting in some guidelines and learning for our strata owners. It can only make make your property healthier. So that's a good thing to see. And then again, knowing everything that it takes to getting your mortgage, and knowing what, again, just what can be saved for you, so that you have time to either, again, put it back into your property, which is what you should do, or take it and invest it, which again makes yourself wealthier. But again, not spending it on depreciable assets that are just there for fun and will get you put back in the same position you were before when you got there.
Yeah.
Awesome, people. Have an amazing weekend. It's really not supposed to change weather-wise, but if it gets a little bit lighter out there, take some time out, enjoy your weekend. Have an amazing week. We can't wait to have you back here with us next Thursday or Friday. Geoff and I have been so busy. That's why it's either Thursday or Friday we get to recording. But until then, most importantly, stay informed, stay empowered, and Geoff,
stay tuned.
That's right, baby. Stay tuned. Peace out. Continue to love, like, and share us, and tell everybody you know about us. See you, baby.